Howard Crook, you've been out for a while, barely scraping by with manual labor jobs, while still trying to put your interest and time spent on studying up on politics and social movements to use. You watched the presidential election kind of wear on, and how divided the country got. It's hard to watch your country go through that, especially when you are trying to figure out how to live on the outside again. You don't have the strict schedule anymore. Really, the only thing that gives you a reason to be up early in the morning is because if you're not at the 7-Eleven early enough, you don't have a job for the day, which means you might not eat. To make matters worse, you're, dealing with nightmares almost every night. Sometimes you can remember them, sometimes you can't. Almost all of them, you wake up though with the coppery taste of blood in your mouth. You could tell that you've chewed on the inside of your cheek at times. There was one morning when you woke up and you had clearly bitten into your own arm. Though you couldn't remember what you were dreaming about to get you so lathered up, so to speak. You got you've had the itch to get into some sort of movement, some sort of physical expression of the anger and frustration that you feel with the world around you. You shouldn't hook up with groups who go out and get into protests that are probably going to get bloody and violent, but it seems like there aren't any protests that don't get bloody and violent lately. And you can't just sit home. It's just not in you to do it. Thankfully, you do find... You have found certain groups, things like groups like Antifa, out there willing to give you space to be among them. Problem is that it's hard to think of them as useful when most of them are rich college, especially here in the district. Maybe that's why when the first protests on the heels of the election, when they start rolling into DC, that's why you go out. Maybe that's why you kind of ignore the fact that you could go out as part of a group. But let's be real, you've been fighting your whole life and most of those kids don't have a damn clue what they're doing. You're more likely to end up a victim than you are to be able to do anything if you're with people who don't know what they're doing. On this particular day, you've heard on the radio and on TV that large portions of DC traffic are getting shut down. Like there's entire streets that just aren't going to be available because of the sheer number of people they're expecting to show up. And they're all rabidly far right wing, the most extreme of the extreme. They're pissed. And you might not necessarily like the city that you live in, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you want people to fuck it up either.
Not without paying for it, for sure.
So when the day comes, and you know that half the city streets, at least towards the capital block, are being shut down for this, you head out. Maybe this one won't take off. Maybe it won't get violent, but if it does, you might have a decent time. When you get there, the crowds are already swelling. It's things have been going on for a couple of hours at least. Hold on a second. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. A kid decided that was the best time ever to walk directly next to my door talking loudly on their phone. Things have been going on for a few hours at least by now. So when you get there, there is a mixture of tension and expectation, and you could tell some people are getting pretty short and ill-tempered, having been out all day, especially considering that, as far as you're aware, most of the people who are here are not from here. They've all rolled in from all over the country.
Tourists.
When the afternoon really starts to roll in, and you can tell that the sun's going down, it's getting harder to see it as it sets behind the high buildings around you. And the police presence starts to increase, because this was really supposed to have cleared up by now. They had expected most people to be gone by this point. But that's not what's happening. It seems like more and more people are showing up. And a quick glance around you can tell that not everybody who has shown up at this point are the people who are originally here to protest. You see counter protesters filing in. There had been some all day, but nothing like what's happening now. You can't tell if there's people that you knew from the Antifa group that you hooked up with. As a rule, they generally try to cover their faces as much as possible. But you can tell that some of them certainly are Antifa from the way that they're dressed and the way that they're acting. And they may not necessarily know what they're doing, but they're better prepared than the typical counter protesters. At least better prepared for violence. So you're standing there, and it's unclear to you what exactly kicks everything off. What is the inciting incident that takes this from a two-sided protest that just makes the cops nervous to almost a full-out melee? But it happens seemingly in the blink of an eye. You're hanging out kind of in the counter protester crowd. And the next thing you know, there is screaming and pushing. The chanting from the other side kind of dies down and gives way to this cacophony of sound. And the people around you kind of surge forward to meet this mass of bodies that are coming at them. You can hear screaming from the people who did not anticipate it getting this bad. You can hear something as close to a war cry as you could expect from, wealthy, comfortable folks who are just mad that these people are in their city. And it's chaos around you. There are moments where the only reason that you know who is on what side is that most of the people who are part of the original protesting group are in some form of red. Weirdly, including a older man who's wearing this kind of large, too large for him, but he clearly thinks it looks cool, or he's trying to make some sort of weird fashion statement. A dark red top hat. And you watch as he shoves down a young woman about 4 feet from you, who was trying to lock arms with the people next to her to kind of create a human wall to stop the press of bodies. And this dude's easily twice her size. He's overweight. He's yelling. He's red in the face, and he just bodily handles her.
Howard takes a second and he turns, and as he's moving, there's almost a shimmer in his eyes, like he's about to cry or something. Because he knows what he's about to do. That's how it starts. This is how it starts, and he knows how it ends. It's ended that way twice now. Third time lucky, but he won't stop. And I'm gonna reach forward and snatch that hat off his head and go, "Hey," and wait for him to turn around and look at me so I can headbutt him right in the nose.
You snatch his hat off, and he turns, mouth open, and you could tell that he's about to be like, "What the fuck do you want?" And he doesn't get past what the fuck before your forehead cracks into his face, and there is blood everywhere. It's immediate. It's on you. It's all over him. His shirt, which was mostly white with big red letters, is now mostly red with big red letters. And he stumbles back with this kind of half howl of shock and pain. His hands up to his face. And you can see there's this moment as you were staring at him. You can, it's like the world falls away for a second, and you don't even see him anymore. Instead, what you see is a man who has stumbled and is wearing full armor and carrying a shield and a sword, who has stumbled away from you. You can tell that he is bleeding from some sort of grievous wound that you know you are the one who dealt to him. And he hits his knees. And then you blink, and the world's back to normal. And you're in this melee, and there are people throwing punches. You can see on one side, kind of off to your left, about 20 feet away, trying to press into the crowd, a number of police who are trying to force their way between the two groups who are clashing in your immediate vicinity. But they're not making much headway. It's hard to sort out who's who and to try and bring some sort of reason and order to the whole thing.
There's a moment where I'm breathing hard, and I haven't exerted myself, but it's just the energy of it has got me breathing hard. And then I see that flash where my senses shift, and I'm blinking for a second, but I don't have time. I don't have time to whatever that was. It's not the people trying to kick me in the shins. So I pull the hat down on my head. I pull that woman into the line and help her link arms. And then I get between their line and the police because I'm already here.
Okay. The police are still trying to work their way through the mass of bodies. Like I said, they're a good 20 plus feet from you, and they've still got other people who are fighting that they're trying to deal with. But you can see them slowly starting to make progress. As this happens and you put yourself between the line that is clearly the counter protesters and the kind of violent rabble that is throwing themselves at said counter protesters, a man comes at you with it looks like a long walking stick. You can tell that he saw what you did to the guy that you took the hat from. Mm-hmm. And just out of instinct is swinging on you with this kind of heavy wooden walking stick. I would like you to make me reopening your sheet. Make me a. Here's my question: do you want to try and dodge? Do you want to try and catch it? What would you like to do?
I am a 6'4" guy in a tight crowd. I don't think there's going to be a way for me to get out of the way. So he's swinging it kind of like a baseball bat.
More like he's got it in one hand and is trying to bring it down on top of your head.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he needs room to get momentum going. Yeah. So, I'm not going to give him that. I'm going to charge at him.
All right. Roll me strength plus brawl. And if you would like to try and grab the club, I will allow your specialty, your strength specialty.
Absolutely. Standard difficulty?
Yeah. He's just a dude. All right, 4 successes. Very good. You charge at this man, and a couple of things happen all at once when you connect with him. You kind of shoulder tackle him, where your shoulder meets with his sternum. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, one of your hands comes up to grab. You were aiming for his wrist, but instead you end up grabbing the walking stick itself, mm-hmm. which kind of works out well for you because when you knock the air out of him and he staggers backward, you were able to wrench it from his hand. And there's another flash as you do. You kind of. There's this moment where, again, you're not here. You are surrounded by people, but they all are wearing armor. And you can smell blood and mud and churned up earth around you. And you can hear horses screaming in the distance and the clash of metal on metal. And instinctively, your hand seems to know what to do with the walking stick, and you shift your grip and bring it around like it's a sword and knock into another and bring it into the side of one of these armored figures in front of you. And when you blink again, it's not an armored figure, it's a person, just a protester. that you have managed to knock bodily in the side, which sends them reeling. And you have somehow, without even being fully cognizant of what you're doing, turned yourself into a kind of a force of nature in the middle of this melee, which has relieved the pressure on the counter protesters behind you, but is also, as a glance up will tell you, put you kind of dead center, and right in the line of sight of the police that are trying to force their way between the two sides to break things up.
There's a part of my brain remembering that I have always been tall, always stood out, and that part of my brain is, and you put a top hat on, dumbass. But even as that's going, I'm just weaving that stick around, just laying into people. Get the fuck back.
Awesome. You very quickly make yourself the kind of imposing and not to be fucked with figure that only the bravest and or stupidest of the people on the other side are willing to tangle with. The problem is that them being less willing to tangle with you has made it significantly easier for the cops to get near you.
Yep.
And it doesn't take long before one of them closes with you, and he's got like a riot shield up in front of him in one hand, and in the other hand he has his nightstick. And he brings the nightstick probably harder than he intended to based on what he's been doing. He's mostly been using it to try and like push between people. But given the heat of the moment and the press of bodies in on all sides, probably he brings it much harder towards you than you originally intended, and it's kind of coming straight for your face.
I'm gonna try to parry it. I have a stick in my hand, and I don't want to get hit in the face. I'm very rapidly losing, because the panic part of my brain is going, not again, not again, not again, not again. Fuck. But also, I don't want to get hit in the face.
Okay. Before we go into parry, make me a willpower roll. Standard difficulty. Oof.
I fail.
Okay. So you have this moment of just almost blinding panic, where you realize that you haven't been out that long. And you're full on adult. You've been tried as an adult once. And next time it's probably going to be worse. It's probably going to be longer. And especially if you try and do anything to push back against the cop in front of you. And you don't know exactly what happens, but there is this moment where the whole world seems to pulse and get brighter and more colorful. And everything gets 10 times more intense. You're not sure if this is the result of... oh my goodness. Why am I forgetting the word? You know, when you panic and your body is just like, here's this handy chemical to make you stronger and whatever.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline, thank you. You're not sure if this is the effect of a sudden rush of adrenaline or what. You know that you've had adrenaline rushes before and it's never done this before. But everything around you in like this massive wave that ripples out from your body gets louder and more colorful, and the lights are brighter. And everything that you can feel is more intense. And what's really wild is that you can smell, you swear it's not blood, it's not sweat. You can smell fear. It's coming off the cop in front of you. It's coming off of the protesters. It's coming off of the counter protesters. You are drenched in it, and it's coming from all sides. And without being able to stop yourself, without thinking about it, that nightstick comes at your face, and you realize you've got nowhere to go and no time to get your hands up. And you do a weird thing. You open your mouth, and the nightstick, you catch it in your teeth. And you should lose teeth from this. You know you should. You like, every logical part of your brain is just like, well, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to chew food again. But instead, you clamp down on the wood. And you can feel it splinter and then break off in your mouth. And you're chewing.
There's a moment where I bite and I chew and I swallow. I cough, expecting, like splinters and all sorts of nonsense, and there's none of that.
Not only is there none of that, but you realize with this weird kind of moment of knowledge and acknowledgement, you've never felt better in your life than you do right now. You could take on the fucking world right now.
I look at the police officer, and it's weird because, like, I'm feeling a little giddy, and it feels like I'm smiling. I should be smiling. Something's wrong with my smile, though. I know it is, because when I'm and I lunge forward, and this seems exciting. I'm going to bite his shield.
Okay. Let's go Dex and Brawl?
Sure.
I'm guessing biting is a brawl attack. That sounds right.
Yep. I did forget to put a specialty in Brawl. It should be dirty fighting, of which bite is a maneuver.
I will allow that.
I did not learn in that dojo.
Holy cow, 7 successes. Okay. Yeah, you lunge forward and instinctively your hands grab the sides of the shield and your mouth comes down on the top lip of it and you hear, what the fuck? And then you're chewing on it and you've wrenched the shield away from him, out of his arms, and he has kind of stumbled back because he doesn't know what to make of what's happening. And as you kind of turn and look around, you notice a few things that you kind of didn't notice in those first, like, really intense seconds. You look up and over, and there is a statue that is kind of built on top of one of the old government buildings of a like a lady, one of the angel of justice or something like that, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's moving. The wings are moving, and it's holding up like a sword but every so often, she points the sword toward in one direction, and you can tell that she's saying something, but it's so loud around you, you can't make out the noise. You can't make out the noise. You're not even sure she's talking to you. You can just tell that she's saying something.
I'm sort of wide-eyed at this point. I spit out the large chunk of the shield I bit off, and kind of toss the shield towards the counter protesters. Potentially they could use it. But I look back, securing that walking stick in my hand, and I look at this police officer, and I can't help it. What seems to be the problem, officer?
The cop is... Sorry, say that again?
I can smell you.
The cop looks vaguely horrified, but also confused. You're not entirely sure which emotion is stronger right now. For him, you can smell the fear, not much else. 1 second, I'm sorry. My cat's being stupid. Hold on. Jesus Christ, animals. You're not sure which emotion is stronger, but you can tell that they're both there and they're kind of warring against each other. And it is around that moment that a large, an impossibly large hand, you're a big guy, but this hand feels like it encompasses the whole of your shoulder. A large hand kind of grabs you by the shoulder and tries to kind of like turn you, not violently, but to get you to look behind you.
I'm so locked into like this is it, this is the end, and I'm going down swinging that I almost pull back for a second, but then I look and the hand is enormous.
Yep, and blue.
And I'm pulled, and I turn, and I look up.
Yeah, you're looking at a woman who's got close to half a foot on you. But she's blue, and she's the most ripped woman you've ever seen outside of like videos of like professional like bodybuilders. Hey, we should go.
I'm just getting started.
No, you need to go, because the confusion and the fear is only going to take them so long. Come on, I'll explain everything. We gotta go.
What? Fine.
She sort of keeps her hand on your shoulder and starts to kind of like half haul you through the crowd. And strange things happen as she does. It's almost like the crowd stops looking at you, stops noticing that you are there, or her. Like nobody seems to be reacting to this massive blue woman. They almost seem to part like the Red Sea around her as she pulls you through. And she pulls you through the crowd until she manages to get you into into like an alley, past a small like contingent of cops that barely seem to notice you. Like they almost don't take note.
There's almost a crazed expression on my face, because it's that moment of, this is it. This is how it all ends. Everything is fucked. And then no one's noticing me or the giant blue woman. Oh, by the way, there's a giant blue woman and she's dragging me, and I don't I don't say anything because my mind is like, is desperately just trying to catch up.
She drags you between two buildings and then finally lets go. Should have fucking figured it would be a red cap. Okay. Hey, I can tell you're still really worked up, but like this isn't the place. The mist can only go so far in hiding what you are when you're in the middle of it. I'm Vigdis, by the way. And she holds out a hand.
Takes it, and he's still sort of staring away, and then he then blinks twice and looks at her. Crook. I'm Crook.
Crook. Nice. Listen. There's a lot going on here, and I'd love to tell you. I'm going to tell you what I can, but we can't stay here for long. People tend to come looking when they think one of us is around. And it's a lot. Okay. So, hi. You're going through what's called a chrysalis. Weird. Did things look weird? Are you seeing things that you didn't see before?
You mean like the giant blue woman talking to me?
Okay, cool. Yeah, then I wasn't wrong. It is you. Yes. You're going through what's called a chrysalis. You're a changeling, basically a fairy. Except your kind is a red cap, based on the hat and the mouth.
What the fuck is wrong? What the fuck is happened to my... What's wrong with my mouth?
Okay, so for most people, normal humans, it just looks like a normal mouth. You just look like you've always looked. But yeah, red caps have big mouths and they can eat basically anything. That's why you were able to eat the guy's riot shield. Hopefully he's forgotten about you by now.
I look desperately around for a window.
No windows because you're in an alley. But what it looks like you're looking for something specific. What's wrong?
What the fuck do I look like?
Oh, she kind of goes through her pocket and pulls out her smartphone and turns on the camera and turns it towards you.
Ah. Holy fucking shit. I was rough before.
Yeah, red caps don't typically win beauty contests. To be fair, neither do trolls.
Trolls?
That's what I am.
Why?
Okay, so listen. I can't tell you everything that you need to know. What I can tell you right now, in the very short period that we have, because chrysalises never stay secret. You've already drawn in a few of us, and thank goodness that we're the ones who found you and not the other guys. There are people who hunt us. And will kill us if they get the chance, and they are capable no matter how badass you are. Especially because you don't know how all your shit works yet. Unfortunately, a chrysalis puts out a lot of what we call glamour, lots of power. It's like you're like a homing beacon right now. It's coming off of you in waves. So you need to get moving. Get somewhere you think you can be safe. Maybe you can meet up with somebody on the way and they'll take care, they'll give you more answers. I gotta stay here and make sure that none of us get picked off by the hunters when they come, because they will come. And you realize for the first time that she's not just a giant blue woman. There's like a handle that is sticking up over one of her shoulders, and that looks like it is to some like massive weapon. And she reaches up and grabs it, and it turns out to be a huge like battle hammer that is strapped to her back.
Cool.
So, go that way, I guess. Because that way's just more of the same. You'll never get through the crowds. And try to keep your head down. Red caps tend to stick together, so hopefully you'll run into more of your own on the way. And they can tell you more than I can. I'm sorry I'm a shitty welcome wagon.
Would it make a difference if I told you you're the nicest person I've met in years?
There is a moment where she looks a little sad at that. Well, I'm glad to know I'm not the worst person you've ever met, or I guess not delivering the worst news you've ever gotten.
This way, huh?
Yeah, go that way. There's still crowds, but it's not nearly as bad as it is back there.
Okay. Victus?
Victus, yeah.
Victus. Don't die, Victus.
I'll try not to. See ya, Crook.
See ya.
And she heads back the direction that she brought you from. Hammer in hand.
I try to straighten out the walking stick to make it use it like a walking stick.
You are more than capable. It's just a walking stick.
Yeah, just and be as inconspicuous as a 6'4" dude in a top hat can be.
It's weird. There is a part of you that knows that you should ditch the top hat, but when you think about it, it feels almost anathema to you to go without it.
I pass by a trash can, I grab it, and I'm like frozen there for a second. And I pull it back down over my head and I keep walking.
Awesome. You break out of the alley and continue onward. There are protests everywhere, but Vigdis was right. She pulled you out of the thick of it, the worst part. And as you go, you get a little bit further away from the core of the mayhem. People give you weird looks as you go, but you don't seem to be like noticed by any of the cops that you pass. And as long as you're not diving right back into another melee, they seem content to let you slip by. As you are going, though, you get to a corner that is kind of close enough to the chaos that it would be very easy to mistake what is happening for a part of it. But to someone who has been in the middle of the chaos of protests like this, is clearly not a part of it. This is obviously something that has either happened in the midst of everything or something that is unfolding because people are taking advantage of the chaos around them. There is a group of teenagers in their, like, the youngest of them couldn't be younger than 16. And the oldest might actually be in his early 20s, from what you could tell. And they have surrounded some sort of figure. And several of them are kicking and hitting. And you can hear, like, pained yells of another young man in the middle of the group. but you can't see him. The bodies are so thick around him.
Again, there's a moment where I just stand there and I'm turning to go. And I look at them again. And I shift my grip on the walking stick again. And I start walking towards them. Hi.
One of them, their head kind of snaps up. And he's this... You're straight, but he is the kind of beautiful that it doesn't matter. You can't help but be a little bit shocked by how fucking pretty this dude is. Keep moving. This isn't your business.
Fuck you. What are you doing?
Well, there's payback.
Yeah?
Another one of his buddies behind him kicks whoever is in the middle of the group, and you hear a yelp.
How many of them are there?
There's like 4 or 5.
4 or 5 of you? How many did it take to beat what? 1? You got 1 in there? Bunch
Yeah,
of
what of it?
fucking souls, aren't you?
He kind of looks you over. Fucking commoners getting uppity. You should move along.
What the fuck did you just call me?
You heard me.
Yeah. Welcome to America, bitch. And I kick him in the knee.
Okay. Strength and brawl, please. Yes, you can use your specialty. Or not strength and brawl, dex and brawl. And you can use your specialty and brawl. 5.
5 successes.
Okay. You nail him in the knee and you hear a popping noise, and then he howls in pain, and you can tell that if you didn't break something, you definitely dislocated it with the way that he sort of topples backward.
Dancing days are done, bitch.
Would you like to make an intimidation roll to chase off the others?
Absolutely.
All right. I would like manipulation and intimidation, please.
You got it.
You also forgot to have an intimidation specialty.
I don't have one yet. I will fix that. However, if this is standard diff, I believe my diff drops by 2 for being a red cap.
Yep.
And the rational part of my brain had been trying to reassert itself as I was escaping. So trying to bring this to a conclusion quickly, I will spend a point of willpower.
Okay, do it. Oh,
8
yeah.
Successes.
Oh, yeah. There's a moment where they all kind of freeze, and you give them this wide, toothy grin.
Does anyone else want to dance?
And their eyes go wide, and they all... sorry. Their eyes go wide, and they all break and run. And you are left with the young man whose knee is all fucked up, who is attempting... Oh my god, I'm sorry. I forgot to mute my fucking phone. It was just one of those nights, babe. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
The cats were in here and they wanted to be bitchy and ugh. Okay. The one whose knee you fucked up has turned and is trying to hobble after his friends. It's slow going, but he is moving as rapidly as he can away from you. And
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, hop along.
And left in their wake, you find a young man who seems more bruised than anything else right now. It's hard to tell what he's supposed to look like because there was so much swelling, so much bruising. There's blood from a broken nose. You can tell he's going to have 2 black eyes. It's bad. But he's alive. And you've seen enough like yard fights when you were in prison and things. Like, you can usually, unless somebody has done something really sneaky, you can usually tell when the damage is like really bad.
Yeah. I will kneel down next to him. Hey.
Hi.
Is there somewhere safe you can go?
Yeah.
Think you can stand?
I could try.
All right. Put your hand on my shoulder. I'm gonna lift you up.
He does, allowing you to stand, and he leans on you, and you can tell like one of his ankles has had a job done on it, because
Okay.
he's forced to sort of hop.
Fuck. All right. Here, I will hand him my walking stick.
He'll take it, and his eyes will go a little bit wide, and for a minute you don't know why, and then you kind of glance at it and realize that it doesn't look like a walking stick anymore.
Oh.
It looks. It looks like a morning star.
Okay, maybe don't lean on that. All right. Here, hold it. Shit.
I'm fine. Just give me your shoulder. I'll be okay. Besides, if I get carried in, I'm never going to hear the end of it from my family.
All right. Where are we going?
He pushes the morning star back into your hands. Plus, you might need this. The way the glamour's coming off of you, shit. Let's go this way. I have my car isn't far from here.
All right.
I'm Godric, by the way. Godric Leonhan.
Leonhan? Like Hun? Like
Leanne Hun.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry, my mouth is all swollen and there's blood. It was hard to talk. That name doesn't mean anything to you, does it?
I am new.
Yeah, I'm getting that. And the two of you move as quickly as his injury will allow him to. Kind of about a block down and around a corner. And there is a small, well, I don't want to say small. There is a sleek black sports car. That looks like it is probably worth about as much as the building you live in. This is me.
Right.
Do you have somewhere to go where you're going to be safe? Holding or anything?
A what?
No. Okay. Hop in. Mom's gonna want to meet you anyway.
Okay.
And he presses a button on the key fob, and the door. You can hear the doors unlock, and he hobbles around to the driver's seat.
We'll slowly get into the car.
You sink into kind of sumptuous leather seats. This is the most comfortable seat you've ever been in a car that looks vaguely like the inside of a spaceship. There's so many fancy dials, and the display and everything is so high end. This looks like something that probably just rolled off of the manufacturer's line like a couple of months ago. And the car starts up with a gentle roar, and he pulls out onto the street, which thankfully is mostly empty, because half the city's been shut down.
I take a minute in the car. I'd lower the sunscreen and open the little makeup window or mirror and finally look at myself.
You don't look like you, but you look more like you than you have ever looked in your life.
I still have a good chunk of the blood from the guy headbutting on my face.
Yep.
There's a moment where I sort of rub my face a little bit. It comes off of my hand. I take the hat that I just almost knocked off, hold it in my hand. I turn. I just smear it across the brim.
Godric sort of glances over at you as he drives and then quickly looks away like he doesn't want to intrude and he's not going to ask any questions.
And then as I'm looking at this hat and looking at myself, looking like I'm kind of now like I'm dressed like a refugee from a performance of Oliver Twist. Red cap, huh?
Yeah. Do you... So you know what you are. Well, has anyone told you anything? Oh, you met a troll. Which one?
Victus.
Oh, fuck. She's a knight. It's a hell of a person to come to your rescue during your chrysalis.
I don't know if she was kind of rescuing me. She was kind of rescuing the cop.
That's usually how it goes when a red cap goes to a chrysalis, from what I've heard. It's always violent.
Hey.
Eaten anything weird yet? You didn't eat the cop, did you?
Ate his nightstick. Part of his riot shield.
Okay, well that could have been worse. So, listen. We're going back to my place. Or my mom's place. To the freehold. Be polite, yeah?
I can be polite.
Okay. Because she's, and this isn't a brag, it's just a fact. She's kind of a big deal. And if you're rude, you're just going to make yourself an enemy. And starting out at being a red cap can be rough enough without starting out with an enemy in a position of power in our.
Yeah, I've been in that kind of world before.
Well, at least for you, she's mostly has a soft spot for. And don't hit me. This is just the term everybody uses. Commoners.
Fuck. Twinkle Toes used that on me too.
Yeah, it's because that's what you are.
Commoners, knights, Fucking. You know, it's the 21st century, right?
Yeah, but our society hasn't really caught up with that part of things. I mean, it has in some ways, you know, where our house is really steeped in the current culture. Hell, I've bankrolled 3 or 4 platinum artists in the past couple of years, so. But society as a whole still got kings, queens, lords, all that. I'm a she.
Like your pronouns?
No. Though that's very progressive of you. SIDHE.
That's like Gaelic shit.
Yeah. And we're not commoners. But
I take a long look at the car. Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah. But anyway. We're it's a lot. We've got a high king. His name's David Ardry. He's a pretty good guy. He brought most things brought us out of a kind of a dark age. Things are kind of finally starting to get at least a little bit more normal. Though he's not from our house. He's half Squidian. They're Sealy, so they're all, they're kind of pricks.
Throwing a lot of words at me. So yeah, I'm guessing your house, Leannan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. We're unsealy. There's 2 courts, but we all kind of answer to the same High King. It's a lot. You'll learn over time. I promise. I'm not usually the person who greets new people. But I'm from a powerful family. So you saving me means that you may have earned yourself at least some favors.
It'd be new.
Well, as far as mom's concerned, as long as somebody proves that they have some sort of worth and does well for the house, you get acknowledged in some way.
I quietly think about the $6 in my wallet that was going to buy me 3 tacos when this was over. But I don't say anything else.
You kind of lapse into silence. During the drive, you see more strange things that statues that have always just been statues for you, but are now like moving around and interacting with the world around them. You see murals painted on the sides of buildings that seem to come to life as you pass. He doesn't seem fazed by any of it.
So, can you see shit moving too?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Some of that is always going to do that. Some of that is happening because you're putting off so much glamour, you're sort of forcibly animating things.
So, we can bring things to life?
Some of us can, yeah. Weirdly, though, it's usually like the humans that do it. Their dreams are the ones that they put off the glamour. They dream, and that's what provides the, I don't know, the oomph for it all to happen. It's like fuel. But during a chrysalis, you put off a lot, like way more than even the most powerful dreamers.
That has some kind of value or noticeable, that sort of shit. Vigda said I was like a beacon.
Yeah, that's because you're going through your chrysalis. When one of us goes through, or when those who get their chrysalis go through it, it's like they're a geyser for glamour. They just put it off in waves, and it just keeps coming. And any changeling anywhere near them feels it. And the laws of our society are that we have to show up and help them. But people who don't like us and who would hunt and kill us also have ways of knowing when it's happening and will show up and will kill you if they can.
Okay.
Vigdis is one of the best fighters at court, though, so she should be fine. I heard she was being considered for being a member of the High King's Guard, but I don't know, had some sort of vow that stopped her from. I don't know all the details. After a while, you pull up in front of one of the nicest houses you have ever seen in the city. It is this huge, it's technically a townhouse, but it's so big that it's hard to call it a townhouse, even though it's connected to two other buildings on either side, you know?
Yeah.
And he pulls up to it and presses a button, and what looks like just a normal piece of the stone wall front of the house actually turns out to not be stone, because it shifts and it moves, and it turns out to be a like a garage door that's been fashioned to blend in with the rest of the building, and it slides up into place so that he can pull in into an underground parking structure.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. I have a cousin who's an architect who was really into upgrades. And he parks. Well, come on. Mom should be home by now.
Okay. And as I go to open the door, I close my hand on the handle. The skin cracks a little, and a few pieces of what look like slate flake off. And I realized I've been like flaking off into the passenger seat of his car. I was like, oh shit, dude. Sorry.
What's wrong? Oh. Wow.
I'm shedding.
Oh, it's all right. I'll get one of the maids to deal with it. If that's honestly the worst thing you do after potentially saving my life, I think we could live with that. Interesting, I don't know, bonus to what you are? Not all red caps get that, that's for sure. And as you help him kind of, take the last few hobbling steps into the house, you're in a place with like polished marble floors, and every piece of furniture that you can see looks like it is handcrafted from usually some sort of like really rich wood. And a young woman with slightly upswept ears and kind of almond-shaped eyes, and this like short pixie cut of blue, like bright blue hair. Kind of pauses when she sees him. Godric? What happened? Oh, don't worry about it. Is my mom home, Sylvie? Oh, yeah. She's in her office. Do you need me to go get her, or do you want me to bring you some clothes? And who's your friend? And she kind of eyes you a little warily. This is Crook. Crook, this is Sylvie. She's one of the maids.
Probably
Sylvie is a pisky.
I should preface everything today with I'm new.
She kind of gives a little half smile and nods. I can tell. Well, welcome. Do you need anything?
To get this guy somewhere where he can elevate his foot.
Yeah, I got that. Godric says, we gotta go see my mom. She's busy, so if she's home, we'll probably have to wait for a few minutes to talk to her anyway, but at least knowing that she's here, we could actually deal with this now and not have to chase her down later. Come on. Sylvia, if you could bring, and she's like, I'm gonna bring the first aid kit and some drinks. And she scampers off faster than you would imagine possible. She's just kind of suddenly not there anymore. You were led through this massive place. Thankfully not up the grand staircase that you pass, because you have the sneaking suspicion that his ankle would probably not allow that. Not with any semblance of grace, anyway. He walks over to a large, kind of heavy set of double doors, and at the end of a hallway, and knocks and enter. And he opens the door and leads you in. And there is a woman sitting behind a desk that is very, very long and kind of deep. It takes up most of the center of this kind of very opulent office with, floor to ceiling built-in bookshelves that are just packed with books. There are a couple of places where there aren't built-ins, and those places have what you realize rather quickly are like records, like platinum and gold records, and like frames hanging from them, or hanging on those parts of the walls. And she kind of looks up and she sees Godric, and her blue eyes go really wide. Godric? What? Who's this? What happened? And there's some back and forth where he kind of gives a quick breakdown of what's going on. At one point, they very briefly lapse into a language that you don't understand, where you can tell that they're probably talking about something that they don't necessarily need just anybody knowing about, but it doesn't last for more than a couple of minutes. And then she...
Does he identify who was attacking him?
You hear what may have been names in that string of this other language. But he doesn't say anything like in English during the English section, so it's hard to tell if they are actually names or and who exactly he was talking about.
Okay.
And eventually he stops and kind of, as they stop, he kind of takes a little step to the side a little bit, turns to kind of half face you and half face her. Hi, Lord Eleanor of House Lianhan. This is Crook, who saved my life. Crook, this is my mother and head of the house. And this is another woman who is impossibly beautiful. In a very similar way as the young man that you saw whose knee you fucked up. She's obviously older than him, but she almost doesn't seem old enough to be Godric's mother. And when she walks around her desk to you, she is graceful and has you've met a lot of people in your life, and you've met a lot of people who you have thought of as proud and upstanding. You are confronted with the realization that as many people as you may have thought were dignified when you met them, you didn't know what dignified was until you met this woman. And the way that she holds herself, despite the fact that you've got like a foot and a half on her.
Crook reaches up and takes hold of his hat, and he tips it to her. But again, that moment of no, he doesn't remove it. Ma'am.
My son says you saved his life.
Oh. I'm not interested in 4-on-1, and he was I don't know if he would have. I don't know.
Why did you step in?
It wasn't a fight. They were just beating on him. And if it takes 4 people to beat someone who's not fighting back, that's bullshit. Oh, beg your pardon.
She kind of gives a little half smile. You can hear a barely muffled, like half groan, half chuckle from Godric. Well, regardless of what your reasonings were, and I am inclined to agree with you that that's not a fight, you are owed a debt by myself and by this house. And I think I know just the thing. I can't state it formally just yet. There are motions that have to be gone through, but I can assure you it will happen within the next few days. I'd like to make you a knight of this house. It will provide you status so that you have more of a stake in the politics of our people. Provide you protection because you will belong to one of the great houses.
Thank you. I'm new at this.
I know, which is why we're not doing this today. You've no doubt been utterly overwhelmed by all of the information that's been put in front of you. And the changes you are still undergoing.
What would be expected of me?
Serve the house you are part of. Don't do anything to dishonor us, to dishonor our name. Answer when you're called.
Less than what most gangs ask of you.
Well, I think you'll find that we won't land you in prison. And being one of us comes with an ample amount of bonuses.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, there's am I joining the mob?
Kind of gives you this wide smile, and it's one of those smiles that makes your heart race.
Uh-huh.
Tell me, do you like music, Sir Crook?
That just rings weird in my ears. Like,
Well, good. I own several record labels. Think of that as one of the bonuses. Anytime there's a concert in town that you're interested in going, I'm sure we can make sure that you have tickets.
I sort of scratch the back of my head a little bit. Thank you. But I'd be honored. Yeah, honored. Yes. Yeah.
Smiles again. Of course you would be. And she kind of reaches out and pats your hand. She does not seem bothered by the fact that she is patting your hand, and you realize as she does so that your skin is hard, like rock. Now, I will make the arrangements. You'll stay here tonight. We can ensure that you are safe while your chrysalis rides out. While you ride out the last of your chrysalis, and then in the morning you can return home if you would like. I'm sure you have things to do, responsibilities to keep.
Gotta make rent somehow, right?
Of course. Now, if you will forgive me. And she kind of turns to go back to her desk, and Godric sort of claps you on the shoulder. Come on, we'll get you into a room. Along the way, you were met by the maid, who gets you both a drink, takes you up to your room so that Godric can go and actually be seen to, have his injury seen to, and you stay in the most comfortable bed you have ever slept on in your life. The next day, nobody tries to keep you here. The maid has laundered all of your clothes and gotten as much of the blood out of your shirt and things as she can. You get the feeling she didn't launder it, but you don't know who did. But she returns freshly laundered clothes that have had most, if not all of the blood removed from them. And they smell fantastic. Freshly pressed.
I take a moment sort of looking at them, and then think about it. I go under the bed. For whatever reason, I hid the hat. I pull it out to make sure it's still got that streak of blood on the side of it.
It does indeed. Nobody has touched it.
Okay. It's fine. Howie, you're not going insane. Well, just because it's still going doesn't mean you're not going insane.
I promise you're not insane. It just seems that way when you first wake up.
I jump a little bit and turn around.
It is Sylvie, the blue-haired Pisky.
Sylvie, right?
Yeah.
And you're
I'm a pisky.
Piss something. Pisky, yeah. Pisky. And you're the maid?
Yeah. It's a good job. She pays well.
What time is it?
Like 6.
Okay.
I was told that we would pay for a taxi to take you wherever you need to go. Or you could go for a walk if you would prefer.
Nah, I'm pretty far from the 7-Eleven. I gotta get going.
Okay. Do you have an address or?
It's on H.
She kind of blinks for a moment. I don't know if the taxis will go that far out into that particular neighborhood, but I can get you I will make sure that they get you as close as they will.
You know what? No. Can you have someone drop me at Rock Creek Park?
Sure.
Cool. Thanks.
And I thought you might need to go early because most people have jobs, so I made you a couple of breakfast burritos.
Oh. Thanks. You have a shovel I can borrow?
Why?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure we can find something. She looks a little nervous that you were asking her for a shovel.
Hey, I'm sorry. It's just...
Listen, just promise that if you're going to go bury a body that you don't tell me.
Okay.
She's clearly smiling like it was meant to be a joke, but when you don't seem to take it as a joke, she kind of deflates a little bit. Sorry,
I attempt to smile back.
Weirdly, she doesn't seem put off by your smile. It's almost like you're not the first redcap she's met. I'll see what the gardeners have out back.
Thanks.
About an hour later, you are arriving at Rock Creek Park. There is a shovel in the trunk of the cab. And the taxi driver pops the cab open, or pops the trunk open for you as he pulls up at the park. He looks confused and a little weirded out, but has just decided he's not going to ask questions.
Somebody wanted new trenches dug. They're planting something. I don't ask. They hand me cash, I dig.
He just sort of kind of nods like he's going to choose to accept that and not question it. Following that, as you are walking, you find yourself dwelling on a strange dream that you had the night before after you fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
You dream of a young man who couldn't be more than 14 or 15, following you around a little bit like a puppy dog. And then at some point you tell him to go and fetch your sword. And he runs off for a while, and when he comes back with a sword that has a jewel encrusted hilt, and seems to almost shine and is light as a feather when you pick it up from where he sets it down for you. You don't remember the rest of the dream. You don't remember any of the names, but you remember the feel of that sword and the shock when the boy lays it in front of you as a stand-in for your sword because it was forgotten.
I'm sort of letting these events just replay into my head, and I'm not even aware that I've turned off of the walking paths. I'm going over this hill, the sound of the traffic kind of dying away. And I'm in this, I look up and like sort of clear my head, and I'm in this weird spot. Like, it's the kind of spot you'd pick for like if you wanted to stealth camp, because like no one would walk across it. It's not picturesque because the pretty spots they build trails around for people to see. This is just it's just like a divot with a couple of trees up on the higher places where they can be seen. I'm standing here with a shovel in one hand and a morning star in the other, feeling as weird as I had ever felt.
And you don't know how you know, but you know that where you are standing is where you are supposed to dig.
I set the morning star down, kind of step through the leaves for a moment, and I count like 6 big steps using my long legs. Stop. Put the spade in, shove it down, and I start digging.
And about 45 minutes later, you shove the spade into the dirt one more time and you hear a clunk.
I throw the shovel aside, reach down, almost like a dog, just clawing into the dirt, shoving it out, brushing it off.
As the dirt gets pushed to the side and shoved out of the way, what comes into view is something you've only ever seen in movies, which is the top of a chest. It's like you're in a pirate movie all of a sudden.
Hey, this is the kind of delusion that buries things in Rock Creek Park. Sure. What the coward.
You haul this chest up, and it is heavy, and it jingles when you pick it up. And you push it up into place at the top of this hole that you've dug, and after you climb up out of it and kneel beside the chest, you open it, and there is gold.
I open it at first, I slam it shut and sort of lean back. I take a long look around.
Nobody here.
I open it again slowly, like I'm trying to sneak up on it.
There is still gold inside.
Holy shit.
And just like that, you realize that you may never have to go to 7-Eleven in the morning for work ever again. And that is where we're going to stop.
Awesome.